the best way to get fit on limited equipment. So whether your budget doesn't allow for adding a bunch of fitness equipment at home, or for getting a gym membership, or if the current state of buying at-home fitness equipment has you unable to get anything within the next month, um, here's your short answer. Number one is we just got to get good at the basics. Everybody needs to be good at doing some basic bodyweight movements before they move on to more advanced programming styles or more advanced movements. And let's just start with, here are the movements you got to be good at. And the answer is air squats, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, lunges, and those would really be the top five in terms of building strength, overall conditioning. And there's definitely other ones that are valuable to us. Some of them are just a little bit less indicative of where you want to go with your fitness. So anyways, air squat, push-up, sit-up, pull-up, and lunge. So really what we got to do is sort of set the standard for yourself. Is you should be able to do a minute straight of any of these exercises. You should be able to feel free to move in any of the positions in the air squat, for example. Like, you should feel free to move at the top. If you get to the bottom of a squat and you feel like you're stuck there, that is not mastery. That's the beginning. No matter what stage you're in, it doesn't really matter. Our goal doesn't change. We're trying to move forward. So, feeling free at any position is a flexibility standard. It's also a control standard. It just says, hey, I'm able to control my body. That's a representation of the function of the joint in your body. You should also be able to test each movement at speed, with load, with volume, and still be able to do quality reps. So oftentimes when we're teaching beginners, like we look for B+ quality to A- quality movement. It's a little subjective because we're not sitting there grading every rep, but it's a perceived quality. And like, in order to have the greatest success, we need to be able to give up a little bit of perfect technique to move faster, or to move with load, or to get more reps in. But when we're actually drilling the reps, we should be shooting for A+ quality. And the difference between the two is super important, because there's times to do each, and the value of training without ever doing less than quality reps is likely to be low. So some best practices for mastery is, number one, we're obviously trying to improve the quality of movement, because we get more out of quality movement than we get out of poor quality movement. So we should always be striving for quality of movement. But we do need to set some sort of benchmark for how fit are we in this current movement now. So for example, one of the ways that we should do benchmarking to know if we're getting better or not is to do air squats for 2 minutes and see how many we can get done. We have to have some minimum depth set. So if you need a depth check or something, squat to a box or to a ball or to a low chair, but get as many as you can in 2 minutes, for example. And then say push-ups, do as many as you can without having to stop. You have to have a standard depth and lockout. So like taking your chest all the way to the ground without your knees touching, and then all the way back up to the top of the plank. How many can you do unbroken, or how many can you do in 2 minutes is a benchmark that you can set for yourself. When we're trying to acquire mastery of some of these basic movements, right, it's getting a starting point. And I talk to my post-PT rehab clients all the time about this. Is like, and really all clients, in the world of progression, we just have to figure out where you're starting. And usually we start on the conservative side and say, hey, we're 100% sure you can do X, Y, and Z. Let's do that. And then we start to expand outward. So we talk about it as like this little tiny ball. And you imagine like, I can do one push-up, or maybe it's I can't do one push-up. But what ends up happening is we learn, okay, if I can do 1, then maybe tomorrow I'll be able to do 2, and then maybe I'll be able to do 10 in a row, right? Or maybe it's I can do 1 in a minute. But we're always dialing up the intensity by volume, the total amount of reps, by the speed of a rep or a given set, and the ability to control it. And it's like with body weight movements, we can change angles of joints and stuff and make stuff more difficult. But to keep it really simple, is there's only three factors. It's the total number of reps completed in a workout, the speed at which any of the reps are completed, and the ability to control the movement. So, for example, this is why interval training works well. Is if I ask you to do 100 push-ups and it takes you 20 minutes, the average time for push-up is 5 push-ups a minute. It's 1 every 12 seconds. If we do max push-ups in a minute, you're likely to be able to do at least 20 in the first minute at least. And you go, that 1 minute of push-ups was more intense than any of the 20 minutes that it took you to do the 100. And what's important about that is it's more intense, and that's where the results come from. In all sorts of training, it's like you have to push the envelope somewhere. So you can do that on a micro or macro level in a minute or 30 seconds, or you can do it across an entire week. But for getting started, it's really like, let's just expand this little circle just a little bit today, and a little bit tomorrow, and a little bit the next day. But yeah, so we're trying to master basics: air squat, push-up, sit-up, pull-up, lunges. My recommendation, especially if you're at home and you don't have any equipment and you're not already training with a coach, is get your benchmarks done. 2 minutes of squat, max push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, max pull-ups, 2 minutes of lunges. Write those numbers down. And then you're going to mix and match those movements together over the course of the next month, and then do those benchmarks again and see how you improve. It's just really important, and it's mostly important that you stay consistent and that you strive for mastery on each of those movements and have a start and an end. So anyways, the best way to get fit on limited equipment: master the basics, do some benchmarking, and make sure you're increasing the intensity each day. Good luck.